Meeting to order. If you would, rise for a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time we'll have public conversation. Up first, Jessica Davis. Yeah, just push your button. There you go.
Accountability is uncomfortable. We have an epidemic in this city, not a physical disease, but rather a lack of accountability, particularly in regard to those in positions of authority. Instead, you sit comfortably in your seats, passing the responsibility on to everyone else and refusing to admit that there was anything you could have done or should have done. This is wholly unacceptable for those that are supposed to be representing not only the adults that have voted, but the children that are unable to vote. The final months of the 2025-26 school year for CMCSS have highlighted immense failings in this body's ability to adequately handle any type of disaster at any level, let alone multiple. When a tragedy of such magnitude, or any magnitude, occurs within your domain, you, as the board members and representatives of the school system and community, should not be sitting back, waiting for those trying desperately to figure out what is happening to them, to reach out to you first. Instead, you should be proactive, trying to stem the flow of blood that is hemorrhaging from the community at large in such an event. It is not just the families from the bus that have been affected, it is everyone they have made connections with in this entire community. This board's lack of proactive outreach, as well as the overall school administration on a city and county-wide level to cohesively deal with this, is appalling and reeks of apathy. I have had more students and faculty members reach out to ask how I'm doing in the aftermath of the accident than any one of you. While there were a few of you at the vigil, I could count them on one hand with fingers left over. So I asked, what is the real reason any of you are there? Both Whitney, Ariana's mother, and myself were summarily removed from any and all school information platforms without being notified it was going to happen before our children's services took place. Now, someone had to have made that decision, and then someone had to have approved it. That alone resonates with a lack of empathy. It also suggests a need to remove us from those platforms during a time where there was already immense chaos in our lives, and we might not notice or make a fuss about it. There is absolutely no reason as to why this needed to be done at such a time. While there was a certain amount of leeway given to the survivors of the crash, there was no such grace given to any of the other students or faculty that knew the children in question, in particular those who knew Zoe or Ariana. While there was apparently some on-site counseling offered to students at Kenwood Middle, this did nothing for anyone from other schools who might have known them. This seems to be an egregious oversight on behalf of the entire CMCSS and board. To simply assume that the results would only affect a single school is short-sighted at the very least. The meager offering of ongoing services that CMCSS has provided is hardly sufficient to help. The counselors for Kenwood Middle should never have had to shoulder the burden themselves, being impacted by the loss of students under their care as well. Did that thought cross anyone's mind? They were grieving. And you asked them to deal with students that were grieving as well without proper support. Shame. And now we're into summer break. The survivors of the crash will be starting high school in upcoming months. How many of them will be attending classes where everything will be swept under the rug in an effort to return to normalcy? There is no return to normalcy after this. This is a chance for leaders to admit that they were unprepared for a tragedy of this magnitude to occur and to take responsibility and accountability for growth and change. You cannot be examples for the children you claim to lead when you are showing them the exact opposite. Accountability is uncomfortable in this instance. When you assume a position of authority and leadership, it always is. Doing the right thing is rarely ever easy or comfortable. If you are incapable of doing what you were voted into those positions to do, I suggest you leave those positions and let someone who actually gives a damn do them.
Ashley Ellithorpe.
I stand before you tonight, not just as a taxpayer. I do not stand here simply as a grieving citizen. Wait a minute, sorry. I stand before you tonight not just as a taxpayer. I do not stand here simply as a grieving resident of Montgomery County. I stand here with the heaviest, most aching heart of a human being can carry. But I also stand here with a righteous, burning anger and a spirit that will absolutely not be broken. I stand here as a mother. I am the mother of Mackenzie Ellithorpe. I am here to speak the truth into this room. Scripture tells us that the truth shall set us free, and it is past the time for this community to be delivered from the darkness and secrecy, protecting predators and symptomatic corruption. My daughter Mackenzie was sexually exploited by the superintendent's husband, Matthew Gay Vetter, right inside one of your schools. And when it happened, his powerful friends and cowardly co-workers at the district wanted to brush it off. They wanted to whisper that it was an accident, because who could possibly believe that the husband of the superintendent could be a child predator? I would tell you who he is. The Bible warns us about wolves in sheep clothing. Who could come prey on the innocent? And you, this board, are just as guilty for turning a deaf ear to these children when they came to you crying for protection. Yes, I said they, because it wasn't just my daughter. You failed Mackenzie, and you have failed so many other innocent children. You promised before God to keep them safe. Jean Luna Vetter. You don't deserve the petition you hold. When complaints were brought to you before, you covered them up. You wouldn't allow them to take the cell phones for evidence. You didn't allow the sheriff's department to conduct the investigation to protect the predator. You have weaponized your power to silence the people, threatening their livelihoods, their careers, and their jobs. If they dare to speak out what they said or what they see or even their opinions, what kind of leader is that? I believe this board could do better with no Vetter. The administration is rotten from the inside out. We do not need to sit around waiting for a slower moving investigation finished before you act. He has already admitted to what he did to investigators. There is no excuse for cowardice. Tonight, I'm challenging this board to put in a situation for Jean Luna Vetter on agenda for a public discussion immediately. No more hiding, no more protection. The lack of transparency in this district staggering, and you continue to violate state laws. Look at how you handled the new public participation policy, done entirely in secret behind closed doors, far away from eyes and in the community you are supposed to serve. What are you terrified of us seeing? What are you hiding? Your pattern of dismissing, hurting, broken, childish is despicable. Look at what happened To the student who was cruelly told she was a waste of oxygen, worthless, and a wrist splitter. When that shattered the child, she went to go tell the principal for help. Do you know what they did? They called her a liar. They turned their backs on her. And that very complaint landed directly on your desk, Jean Linevetter. And what did you do? You ignored it. You let the abuse stand. You protected the system instead of the child. The rot and neglect in this district does not stop there. We are here to demand the oversight and the accountability you swore before God to provide. Your job is to advocate for student safety and well-being by ensuring policies and procedures are followed. Yet, you continue to fail our families, and consequences have been fatal. On March 27th, our community was fractured. We lost 2 precious innocent in a horrific preventable school bus accident. While they were on this school field trip, Zoe and Ariana Pearson, go ahead, say their names. Their families are broken, weeping, and screaming into a void with answers. And when the officers don't respond to these families, you're the ones who are accountable. There is supposed to be an open investigation, so I demand an answer tonight. How's the bus driver in Virginia? How is there zero accountability? While 2 beautiful children are in the ground, you are responsible. These practices and your silence a betrayal of their memory. Then we look at the spiritual betrayal on the board. Mr. Aaron Mayberry, I'm looking right at you. You have abused the holy authority of pastor, mixing the sacred word of God with dirty backroom politics.
Time's up.
Once Mayberry, I believed you. Once we trusted our families, I trusted you, only to find out you lied and talked about us behind our backs. While you were supposed to be a pastor, Ezekiel 34 warns the shepherds who feed themselves but feed not the flock. You abandoned the flock for power. My heart breaks for these children. What you have allowed to happen under your watch. We, the community here tonight, because of our patience, entirely have ran out. We've lost all respect. Jean Linevetter, we are here to demand that you step down and resign immediately. We'll be glad to pay the rest of your contract just to get you away from our children. It is time.
Time is up. Okay, next up, County Regalia. Please sit down. Please step down. Your time is up. Please sit down. Please take your seat. If you cannot remain with a sense of decorum, we will remove everyone from the room. The time is up. The time is up. Officers, please remove her from the stand. There is a time limit. There is. They already gave you more than 5 minutes.
There's no state law on 5 minutes. It's not the law.
It is on. You want to weigh in on that?
There's no state law there. Turn the light on. You make your own little laws up there. There's no state law on school
All right, hold on.
We're paying you a paycheck. You pay for that mess. Exactly.
Okay.
We are tired of it.
All right. Since you've asked, there is a state law, 8-44 1112, that says the governing body.
Please let him speak.
Oh, he can speak and she can't.
We listen to her speak. Please let him speak.
I'm explaining to you, the state law says that a board, county commission, city council, school board, may set restrictions on public comment. such as the length of time, the number of speakers, or the length of time each speaker will be allowed to comment. This board, years ago, I don't remember how many, 8 or 10 years ago, set a policy, which is published, and the policy says that each speaker will have 5 minutes.
You can make an exemption, especially that we got pedophiles in the school system.
So that answers the question. Under state law, this board is allowed to set a time limit, just like any other government. And this board has set the limit of 5 minutes.
Legal does not mean moral. Anybody want to make a motion?
There is no motion. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on to Connie Regalia.
All right, Connie, you can talk about the pedophile now. Let's go. There she is. You can finish up, girls. Just read it.
Any more outbursts, you'll be removed from the room.
Okay, hold on. Good evening. My name is Connie Regulate. I am the grandmother of Mackenzie, a former attorney and a force for justice for children. For 3 decades, I have watched children be abused, exploited, and held hostage in this state, while predators have rarely been punished and the children have rarely seen justice. I have seen children abused by college professors, school janitors, detention employees, business leaders, private school students, TV personalities, foster parents, wealthy landowners, teachers, and more. Assaults have occurred in schools, juvenile jails, homes, and a multitude of locations. There is no ideal place, person, or circumstance that creates an environment where safety should be at risk. That is because they are predators. Predators find their victims wherever they are and launch on them when the victim does not expect it or feels helpless. Let me ask you this. What if Mackenzie would have screamed or slapped Matthew Vetter in the classroom? Who would have been punished? And who would have felt embarrassed? Mackenzie. A child is left without recourse unless they are surrounded by an army of warriors to protect them. Predators think the victim won't tell, and often they don't. The victim thinks no one will believe me, and often they're right. If our public schools are danger zones for children, what do we have left? Your inaction will become the norm. Just ignore it and it'll go away. This is now June 16th, 3 months after the fact, and we are still wondering when law enforcement will act. The facts will not stay hidden. We, the people, will no longer tolerate the blinders that cover your eyes. Each of you has a responsibility to protect our children. Occasionally, there is justice. A father that abused a 4-year-old daughter is in prison for 100 years. I represented children who were abused by parents, and we got a $3 million judgment. But when I sought to hold Williamson County, a public body, responsible for the assault that occurred in juvie detention, the system made up a fake crime to shut me up and quiet my voice. All of that is, of course, now reversed and the tables are turned. I work with local media, national organizations, and multiple legislators. Now 50,000 people watch what we have to say on social media, and don't think that does not matter. When the voices of the people are amplified by networking, changes will occur or those in power will fall. You need a policy right now that says that teachers are not permitted to have their phones in the classrooms, period. And Miss Vetter needs to be replaced. She was too participatory in covering this up.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
Your lack of ability to act promptly has set your priorities. Your superintendent, Ms. Vetter, is more important than protecting the children. And there is 1 minute left on my time, and I'm going to allow I'm going to finish Miss Ashley's speech.
Thank you.
No, we don't, we're not.
And Casey Bryant.
No.
Okay, I have a minute left if you'll put that back on. And Casey Bryant, you personally know Mackenzie. She has spent many nights under your roof, sleeping in your home. Our daughters were best friends. You have seen the girl grow. You have seen her work in our church, and you know Mackenzie Yellowthorpe. So I'm asking you, mother to mother, friend to friend, please look into your heart and ask yourself what is the right thing to do here. What is your actual job? Is it to protect a corrupt administration or to protect the little girl who sat at your kitchen table? Look at the mother, Casey, and ask yourself, what is your job? And thank you.
You know, Casey.
All righty, next speaker, Adam Ellithorpe.
I stand before you tonight not to prejudge any individual, but to speak about accountability, transparency, and the public trust. For months, our community has been asking questions about the reported incident involving former Montgomery Central employee Matthew Vetter and allegations that inappropriate nudes were shown to a student while on school property, my daughter, Mackenzie Ellithorpe. Since March, many parents, taxpayers, and community members have watched this matter move from one agency to another with little public clarity about where the case stands, about who is responsible for making decisions, about why those decisions have or have not been made. The result has been frustrating, confusion, and a growing lack of confidence in the community. It's a lack of confidence in the system, and it's a lack of confidence in the students and the parents and everyone in the community of Montgomery County. The concern is that many citizens is not simply about one individual. It is about whether our institutions are willing to hold people accountable, Ms. Vetter. When serious allegations arise, involving the safety and well-being of students, when an allegation involves a child, the public expects a thorough investigation, not hidden in secrecy, not behind the curtains, not when they want to speak, only when they want to be heard, not to be under a gag order or some type of thing like that where they're afraid to speak. I speak every day. A lot of the people that are here in this room have heard me speak every day about transparency, about accountability, and about justice. But instead, many people feel as though this matter has been passed around like a ping pong ball. Questions have been raised, concerns have been voiced, and yet the answers remain difficult to find. Parents deserve to know that allegations involving students are treated with urgency and seriousness. Teachers deserve to know that standards are applied fairly and consistently. Students deserve to know that adults will protect them and advocate for them when they are victims to predators in our school system. Taxpayers deserve confidence that public institutions are acting in the best interest of the children they serve. Many in this community, in this very room, have expressed concern that Mr. Vetter was allowed to resign rather than publicly face a termination process. Whether that decision was legally justified or not, it has left many citizens wondering whether accountability was truly achieved. Resignation and accountability are not always the same thing. When serious allegations arise, the public naturally wants to understand what happened, what policies were followed, whether mistakes were made, and what corrective actions have been taken to ensure similar situations so they do not occur again. Those questions are reasonable. Those questions are not political, Mr. Mayberry. Those questions are not political. Those are attacks where one puts his political agenda in front of child safety. Those questions are part of responsible civic engagement. This issue also raises broader concerns about how our school systems handle reports involving student safety. If policies were worked and intended, the public schools should be shown that. It should not be secret. If policies failed, then policies should be strengthened. If communication was lacking, then communication should improve. The goal should be to protect students at all costs. We cannot claim that student safety is our highest priority. None of you on that board that hold the positions you have held anyone to a standard of accountability. When the citizens ask difficult questions about incidents involving students, the people want to know because transparency builds trust. Silence destroys trust. Accountability builds confidence, and avoidance creates doubt. As a community, we should not be demanding a special treatment for anyone, regardless of who their wife is. I would have a tough time coming home from work and listening to my husband tell a sheriff's officer that I had sexually exploited a minor in class with my nude photos. It's a failure to everyone in the community. Shame on yourselves and the sheriff's department for their broken investigation. Tonight I ask our leaders, our school officials, and our law enforcement agencies to serve who they serve. They serve the students, they serve the parents, they serve the taxpayers, and they serve the public's right for confidence that serious matters are handled professionally, thoroughly, and transparently. Whether people agree or disagree about the facts of this particular case, we should all be able to agree on one principle. When concerns involving student safety arise, they must be addressed openly, responsibly, and with a commitment to accountability. Our children deserve nothing less than transparency and accountability.
Okay, next, Mackenzie Ellithorpe.
Miss Feather, look into the eyes of your husband's victims. And when you go home tonight, look him in the face.
No more outbursts, or we'll clear the room.
You just listen. No.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Mackenzie Ellithorpe. I am the student who was shown nude photos by Superintendent Luda Vetter's husband, Matthew Vetter. I want the people who are
Hold on,
supposed
hold
to be
on, hold on a
protecting
minute,
us
Megan.
and the students of CMCSS who are supposed to be looking out for us for our best interest to know something. You have failed us. You have failed at keeping students safe. You have failed at protecting students from predators. You have failed.
Mackenzie. I'm going to give her time back. Put 4 minutes and 45 seconds back on the clock. And, yeah, we'll just start the time over, and she can start over. We can get rid of the disruption in the room so that way we can hear her. We're going to get rid of the disruption in the building so we can hear her. Huh? Sure. Yeah. Take a 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess. Resume this meeting without any disruptions. Mackenzie, are you ready? No, he was removed. Push your button so it starts your time.
My name is Mackenzie Ellithorpe. I am the student who was shown the nude photos by Superintendent Luna Vetter's husband, Matthew Vetter. I want the people who are supposed to be protecting us and the students of CMCSS who are supposed to be looking out for us for our best interest to know something. You have failed us. You have failed at keeping students safe. You have failed at protecting students from predators. You have failed the Kenwood students who are desperately in need of support in the tragedy of the experience that they've encountered. You have failed the students whose families who have came before this board seeking help only to leave feeling ignored, unheard, and dismissed. You have failed to stand up for the children and the families of CMCSS when they needed you most. On March 9th, when Superintendent Luna Vetter's husband, Matthew Vetter, showed me nude photos of himself, my life changed. In that moment, I was terrified, I was confused, and I was shocked. I didn't understand why a teacher would do something like that. I didn't understand why an adult who was supposed to be trusted would put me in that situation. What I did know was that I no longer felt safe. I no longer felt safe in a place where I was supposed to feel protected. I no longer felt safe in a school that I attended every day. After that happened, I went and hid in the bathroom so I could call my mom because I didn't know what else to do. I was scared, I was shaking, and I felt completely alone. No student should ever have to hide in the bathroom to call their parent because they feel unsafe at school. No student should ever have to question whether an adult around them will protect them or not. No student should have to carry the fear and anxiety and trauma that comes from something like this. What has been almost as heartbreaking as what happened to me has been hearing from other students. Over the last several months, I have had girls come to me and tell me how unheard they felt when they reported concerns about Matthew Vetter. I've listened to students talk about how they felt ignored, I've listened to students talk about how they felt dismissed. I've listened to students talk about how they felt their voice didn't matter, and that breaks my heart because every student deserves to know when they speak up, someone will listen. Every student deserves to know when they report something wrong, they will be protected instead of overlooked. There are students right now who are afraid to speak. There are students that feel their voice doesn't matter. There are students who feel pressure to stay silent, and the most thing that the sickest part about it, silence protects problems, silence protects predators, and silence never protects children. I thank God every day for the family, friends, and supporters He has placed in my life. I thank Him for the people who have stood beside me in my family when it would have been easier to walk away. Most important, I thank Him for giving me a voice because there was times where staying quiet would have been easier. There were times when walking away would have been easier. There were times when the criticism and comments and the pressure felt overwhelming, but God gave me a voice, and I believe He gave me that voice for a reason. I believe He gave me the opportunity to stand up for students who feel unheard. I believe He gave me an opportunity to stand up for children who are afraid to speak. And I believe that He gave me the opportunity to stand for what is right and what is truly in the best interest for students of CMCSS. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than one student. This is about every child who walks into school expecting to be safe. This is about every parent who sends their child to school believing they'll be protected. This is about accountability. This is about doing what is right, and this is about change. People need to start standing up for students. People need to start listening to students. People need to start thinking about the lasting impact of these situations leave on young people. Because while adults may move on, students carry experiences with them for years. I ask you tonight to remember who you serve. You serve the students, you serve the families, and those students and families deserve better with no better. Thank you.
All righty, next, Sydney Jane Kemp. You've got 5 minutes, and you have to push your silver button to start the timer.
Good evening. My name is Sydney Kempf, and I am a senior at West Creek High School. I'm standing here tonight because over the last 13 months, our school alone has lost 4 students to suicide. Freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Students who should still be here, and one of them was my friend, and was loved so dearly by the person standing next to me too. I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to say, and honestly, I don't think there are any perfect words for something like this, because there's nothing normal about losing 4 students in 13 months. And yet, every time it happens, the response feels the same. We're told counselors are available to reach out if we need help, and then after a few days or a week, everything moves on and stops. But maybe part of the reason we miss signs is because we've created environments where students don't feel safe enough to tell the truth about how deeply they're struggling. We tell students to speak up, but many are terrified of being judged, terrified of being seen differently, terrified of disappointing people, and terrified that if they finally admit how dark their thoughts have become, nobody will actually know how to help them. The grief doesn't stop for friends who lost someone. It doesn't stop for the parents who have to live every day without their child. It doesn't stop for the siblings who have to spend the rest of their lives missing a brother or sister. They don't get to move on after weeks, so why do we? I know there are counselors and people who care. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about asking a question that I think every student deserves an answer to. Why does it feel like we only talk about mental health after someone dies? Students need consistent support. We need mental health treated as seriously as physical health. We need students to know that asking for help is strength, not weakness. We need long-term grief support for everyone. We need adults trained to recognize warning signs before it's too late, and we need to stop waiting until memorials to start having honest conversations about suicide. And I refuse to believe that the best we can do is acknowledge the loss and move on because it's uncomfortable. For example, mandatory suicide prevention education, where we require students to learn about physical health every year. We should require learning warning signs in themselves and friends too. There can be staff trainings. Teachers and staff are often the first people to notice when a student withdraws, stops participating, or begins struggling. Or even mental health check-ins, simple surveys a few times a year. We track attendance, grades, and test scores. We could regularly check on students' well-being with the same level of attention. Tonight, I'm asking this board to make suicide prevention and mental health support a priority every day, just like we care about everything else. We cannot change what has already happened, but we can decide whether we learn from it. We can decide whether these 4 students become another statistic or whether they become the reason we finally do more. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda, items 5 and 6. The Rossview utility easement and the modification of public participation policy have been removed from the consent agenda. All the other items okay with the board? Need a motion to approve, right? Somebody need a motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Mayberry, second from Mr. Garland. Please open the vote. Cast your vote. Teresa. Is everybody happy with their vote? Okay. Please tally the vote. All right, motion passes. Okay. We'll move on. We move to EL. Yeah, and they come back. Okay. Policy monitoring, EL 8. Dr. Linda Better.
Board, please find in your board packet information on Executive Limitation 8. This executive limitation has one compliance expectation: to ensure that we shall not fail to maintain an accountability program. Specifically, CMCSS has a comprehensive strategic planning process which includes using Level 1 student achievement, and Level 2 department performance data. In addition to this data, administration meets regularly to formally listen to leaders, stakeholder groups, and department leaders. In Level 1, schools and districts are expected to meet the annual measurable objectives, the AMOs, identified specifically for the district based on ESSA baseline built from the previous year's performance. Furthermore, senior leadership team designs annual strategic work based on changes at the state and national levels. The district also is currently completing high school accreditation updates with Cognia and is due to be completed fall 2026. In fall 2021, CMCSS began to transition to ISO certification for educational organization, and in March 2026, the district was approved unconditionally for the 4th year in a row. Chairman Lanier, that concludes update for executive limitation 8.
Motion, right? Motion for approval. Anybody got a motion for approval? Mr. Mayberry, Mr. Garland again, a second. Please open the vote. Please cast your vote. All those satisfied? Please tally the vote. Motion passes. Okay, we'll move back to, now up for discussion is Rossview utility easement. I'm going to pass that off to you, Mr. Griffey, since you had asked for that to be removed.
Yes, sir, thank you. I asked that be moved off consent agenda for additional discussion because the comments were made that the construction time would begin soon, and I'm interested in the length of the easement. I'm interested in the length of the easement that on our property. I know the project is going to take a long time, but I don't think we should allow this construction process during school hours. It's right beside Cardinal Lanes. Buses travel down Cardinal Lanes. When the children are in there and the buses are traveling, I know the work itself was inside a fenced-in area, but they're going to be bringing dump trucks of gravel in. There's going to be lowboys bringing in equipment to move that stuff with, and they're going to be unloading and loading when they get there, not waiting on school buses to load and unload. I do not think that additional traffic in the area is safe for our children or our bus traffic, and I am for allowing this easement, but I think the contract of this easement needs to be written up where the work begins the last day of school and ends before the first day of school the following year. On that section of it.
Go ahead, Mr. Mabry.
Mr. Johnson, I thought I heard you say something about this at the last meeting. So I just want to bring, was it a different easement we were talking about before? But I thought someone brought this up about Rossview, how it's outside the traffic area and it's in that grassy area. So if someone can comment on that.
I don't think it was me. But I think Mr. Brumley, and I think there may be somebody here from the city as well, potentially, that knows a little bit more about that project. Yes, sir.
That is correct, Mr. Mabry. The actual construction work was on the grass, on the ground. I don't disagree with that at all, but I'm also familiar with those projects and how they work. And they cannot work without trucks bringing in gravel, moving dirt, and they're going to be using the roads to get in and out of. And they're going to be extremely crowded when there's buses and school children traffic on that road. It can be done between the time school's out and school opens, if they just put it in the contract to be that way. And I'm all for that. But I cannot support this if they're going to be running construction equipment in and out of that site when buses are running down Cardinal Lane. It's not a wide road anyway. And it's going to be too disruptive to Rossview School to be safe for the children. So I can't support it with a wide open and no restrictions on work dates.
The construction schedule is approximately 180 days. There is approximately a mile of...
But not across Rossview, it's not a mile.
Correct. Yes, sir. We've got a representative from the engineering firm, Mr. Micah Westerman, who is here and can speak to some of your concerns and talk about coordination, if you'll allow him.
I'd be happy to hear him.
This button. Right there. Push it back again.
With Ryan Engineering, the engineering firm that designed this project, and I understand your concern on the traffic of it, and I think that y'all discussed previously that a large portion of this project is along Rossview Road, which has that big grassy area there, and you know, like he said, this is not a short duration project. It's going to take some time. I would expect that even the time along Rossview or along school property couldn't be done completely within the amount of time that school is out. That's one reason why we're specifying in the contract to have a complete barricade around all construction materials. And I understand what you're saying, hauling in and out equipment and stuff, but and we can definitely specify that into the contract. We want to work with you guys as you know, as much as possible. So we can specify for offloading and unloading not to be done within school hours. We can have that, you know, them to store the dirt or gravel or whatever they need on site within the limits of the barricade, and have it done on, you know, weekends or after school hours or something like that limits the time for actual traffic to be in and out of school grounds. But I think that large quantity of area there right off of Rossview in between them and the school gives us a good buffer to be able to store equipment, to be able to store any materials that are there, and not have to incumbents the traffic of flow. And we also specify that any crossings of the entrances, they have to be coordinated with CMCSS folks, you know, at least 2 weeks prior to construction. This stuff has to be done outside of school hours. It has to be done, you know, after hours or on weekends or on holidays, that sort of thing.
You said a project was 1 mile long.
Yes.
And 180 days is what it takes to complete it.
That's what we're assuming. That's the contract times that we have in there.
How many feet are actually on the Rossview property of that 1 mile?
The majority of the footage is on Rossview property. It comes from the other side of Rossview and the other.
Of the easement we're talking about. How much of the easement footage is on Rossview property?
I could calculate that, but I don't know off the top of my head how many actual footage is on.
5,127 feet, all the 7 pieces of property on Rossview.
And that is a mile. Okay. Okay.
The majority of the project is along Rossview, the school's property there. Just goes a little further on Cardinal Lane and a little bit on the other side of Rossview. And the other aspect of that, they're having to bore Rossview Road, so that is what I think will take the most amount of time. So that's what, you know, that's a big part of the timeline there.
Again, I'm certainly, as you have picked up on, not in favor of this going on while school is in session. I do not think it's a wise decision at all. I do support the need for it and know we have to do it. But I do want to know without doubt that contract wording does not allow any of that stuff going on the stump trucks and stuff. It's going to have to be used during school hours. And that can be worked around. I don't think it will affect your project too long, but
I think that verbiage could definitely be added to the specs, you know, to limit the, I guess, construction traffic on school property to not be during school hours. I think that we can.
Mr. Chair, I ask that when this wording is completed and this contract is ready for signature, that the entire contract with its wording come to the board for approval. Before it's finalized.
Okay. You've got a section right there on Rossview Road. And then you've got the section come on this overview picture. And then it comes down Cardinal Lane. See that, Mr. Griffey?
Yeah, I've looked at it. The Cardinal Lane section is where the narrow road's at. My concern is.
I know, I'm saying, but would we be okay with would you be okay with them having to do the work on Rossview Road, which is out?
Yeah, the Cardinal Lane is my issue because of the narrowness of that road compared to Rossview Road and the amount of bus traffic that goes down that road. To load and unload.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the expense side of if they can work that Rossview Road side, which is completely out of the traffic and everything.
And we do have on the plans that it be completely barricaded, like we talked about with the construction.
It seems safe for what you're actually doing in the pit, so to speak, or in the ditch. I'm just more concerned about the traffic that I know has to be coming in and out for that project to take place.
I think that we can also limit it too on coming in at Rossview Road, then create a construction entrance right there where the bore is going to be happening, to where they don't even have to come through the school's property at all.
That may be an option that can be worked out.
Right. And this, I know you said about the reviewing the contract, but and I just want to make sure that it's clear that the easement itself isn't the construction contract. The easement is just granting Clarksville Gas and Water permission to have their lines on your, their water lines on the construction contract is not finalized.
It's nothing to do with us, and I think you've corrected me on that, but the easement contract that is drawn up that we're approving is the one I want the board to have the final say on before it's signed off on. And so bring it back to the board when it's drawn up and completed.
Anybody else? Any other comments? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. There's no motion to make until we get the contract.
Mr. Griffey, would you like to make a motion to table this till the next study session to give them time?
I can do that, or I don't mind making a motion that the contract of easement be brought back to the board for final approval. I can put that in a motion if you need a motion tonight. That'd be better than a table, because the table's got to be brought up again.
Okay.
And that way, when the contract is written, it can come up the next meeting.
At the next study
So
session.
if you want a motion, I'll make a motion that when this easement contract is in writing form, they bring it to the board for final approval.
Okay. We have a motion. Okay, seconded by Casey. Okay, if you would, please open the vote. Please cast your vote. Okay, is everybody satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. Motion passes. All right. Item 6, modification of public participation policy. Pass that off to Mr. Mabry.
Yeah, at the last board meeting, we actually read this out loud, just make sure that that was understood. But we brought forth this public participation change. It has a few changes in here that the board was emailed. The language changes were in yellow. But what the two big main changes on this would be going from 5 minutes to 3 minutes on being able to the length of time to speak. I've searched and done some research across the entire state, and I don't know another body that allows 5 minutes. The average time, the most of the time that is accepted is around 3. And this allows more people to be able to participate. And I believe even tonight there was, I forget how many, but like 6 other people that did not participate because of the length of time. So this gives more opportunity. And this will also make a change that, something I don't think that we probably should have done at the last formal meeting. And that was allowing to have someone.
No disruptions. Let him speak. Let him speak. If you can't stop with the disruptions, we'll clear the entire room. Will you take the disruptive ones out, please? Please remove all the disruptive ones. Please take back your seat, sir. Please stop with the disruptions so we can carry on the meeting.
Double, triple dipper. Like we all just said, the hell me something tonight. You ain't no shit problem in there. Have a town hall. Have a fucking town hall. Have a town hall, Aaron. Have a town hall. Chris, have a town hall. If you're gonna limit our speech.
Mr. Lanier, point of order, I maybe want to have another recess until.
Have a town hall. Push me out. Push me out. Push me out. I don't want to do this, but they're not gonna limit.
We're going to recess again in 5 minutes.
They're not gonna limit our voices in here. They're not.
right, we'll resume back with Mr. Mayberry. What were you saying?
So again, the two changes here, again, 3 minutes over 5, because for what I've already stated, that's the majority of the state in any government body's 3. I've not found one that was 5. That change was done by Charlie Patterson many years ago. So I just feel like that was maybe an overcorrection, and we want to be able to have more people speak, not less, in the time frame. So that's the why behind that. And then lastly, I think that we did something at the last meeting that we probably shouldn't have done, and just would correct that, is not being able to transfer yours if you signed up to somebody else. That's what the two changes that are substantial here with this change. And again, that was read for the last meeting.
All right, any other board members' comments? Mr. Griffey?
I don't oppose the shortening the time. I'd first like to ask a question. How many people were not allowed to speak last week and this week because of the time constraint?
There were 4 last. We had 7 on to speak last month. 4 rolled over. A couple of them dropped, and then we had 10 for this time. So 6 were on the agenda, and 4 were rolled to next time.
Okay.
Some of those were also from
Prior to the last 2 meetings, were there ever any others that were not allowed due to time?
It has been a long time since there was.
I don't recall one. That's the reason I was asking.
It has been a number of years where before we had so many that we had to roll or limit it. Most of the time, you only have 2 or 3 or 4 people that sign up to speak, and it's not an issue.
Right.
But it has. The previous time, and I believe you were the chair, there was one night we had 11 people sign up to speak, and
I let them speak.
And you let everybody speak.
Right.
So that was the only other time that there was a whole lot.
Right. Okay, so we have isolated incidents where the time is a factor, for sure. Maybe 3 times in the last 4 years. I don't believe it's right to shorten the times, even though sometimes the comments are not comments we want to hear. They're still our constituents. And I don't want to be a board that changes the time limits because we're not liking the message we're hearing. It's our job to listen to the message. As far as Mr. Mabry, it was not an amendment by Mr. Patterson at that time. That was when the board set the public speaking originally to 5 minutes when it was not allowed for so many years, even prior to the state making it law to have public speaking. We began it before then, and it started at 5 minutes. And I just do not think this is the appropriate time to make that change. I do agree with Mr. Mabry's change about not allowing someone to flip their time to someone else. I think this, it plainly states that you are to address what your topic is and what you're going to talk about. There are rules and guidelines set in them that the chair can enforce. And I just think it's the wrong timing on changing the times. The chair has the authority to allow more than 30 minutes of speaking if it's for an event such as we've had the last couple of meetings. And I'm just totally against this, especially at this time. We're making a statement we do not need to make. And that's all I've got to say about it.
If I may, just for 1 second, Mr. Griffey, the previous policy before this was adopted, it's not that the board didn't have a policy to allow speaker, because we've always had a policy to allow speaker. The previous policy up until about 21 said that you had to sign up to speak for an item that was on the agenda.
On the agenda, correct.
And then it changed to you may speak to any matter that has relevance before the board with the limitations that we set out. So that was the kind of the caveat. We've had a policy.
Right.
It did change, and around the same time it was set at 5 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Mabry?
Yeah, so as a parent, I was a huge advocate for that. I came and spoke in front of the board, at the time and asked for that change to make it where you could speak beyond what was on the agenda, which was the big change back then. And at that point, I was in the meeting. Mr. Patterson also kind of extended over to 5 minutes. So I guess my greater point I'm trying to make here is we're definitely the anomaly in the state. So no one's close to 5 minutes. It'll, I believe, help guide the conversations, bring to 3, allow more people to speak in that time frame, and align us with the other state, local, and state bodies.
Mr. Griffey?
I've stated, but I totally disagree. I'm not worried about lining with a state body with the Montgomery County school system. And we only have to worry about the people in Clarksville-Montgomery County speaking. I don't agree. If I was told I had to make a point across in 5 minutes and speak, I mean 3 minutes, I would struggle because I don't talk fast and I don't read my comments. Tonight, I don't think we had but one person that had a minute left with the 5-minute limit. So if we struck it down to 3, they're going to struggle getting their message across. And I'm just totally against it. 5 minutes is adequate time. It gives them plenty of time to say what they need to say. And if we don't have time to listen to them, we need to go home.
Okay. Mr. Garland?
Even though I'm going to be moving on, and this is a good time to move on. We talking about accountability and responsibility. We talking about a person that want to make a presentation to this body. If they can't get their thoughts in line within the 3 minutes that was being suggested, and allow other people to actually to be able to address the board as well, I think that it would be reasonable and I would definitely agree that the time need to be changed because 5 minutes, you got a lot of time to, some of the stuff they say is redundant, but the bottom line is I think 3 minutes will force them to narrow their presentation to the topic that they want to discuss. Because a lot of people that come to speak, they just shotgun blast. And we don't need to have shotgun blast before this board. That's my opinion. But like I say, I won't be here.
Ms. Bryant?
This might be too complicated, but what if we set it at 3 unless we don't have the limit signing up, and then we can, because they have, 48 hours when we know who the speakers are? So what if we say 3 and then we give, if we don't go over the time limit, we give them the option to go to 5? Then we're getting the best of both worlds.
I don't see that's the best of both.
All right, Mr. Garland?
I'd say that I wouldn't agree with that because that shows that we are not really focused on what it is that we're trying to do. What we want the people to do, those that want to speak to the board, is come and address the board. Get your points together, come within that 3 minutes time frame, and do your presentation. And what we are seeing over the last couple of months is that a lot of people, they come ready to talk 10 minutes and want us to actually change. Because see, if we do that, then next thing you know, they're going to want 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. And I think that would be totally inappropriate. The fact that when you are making a presentation, it's up to the board or the people that you are making it to set the agenda and how it's supposed to go. We either need to stick with 5, stay with 5, or go back to 3. And I have no problem in going back to 3.
Ms. Berry?
I do not think we should change whatever time we decide on. We need to be consistent because we want people to feel that they're treated fair. I don't think we need to jump around because there are less people in attendance that wants to speak. I think we need to decide on 3 minutes or 5 minutes and be consistent. Thank you.
Mr. Mayberry?
So we need a motion, so I'm going to make a motion to accept the modification of the public participation policy as written.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? All right, motion and a second. Mr. Garland? Do we need to? Huh? Any other discussion? Did you have something else, Mr. Griffey?
I just want to remind everybody, the motion is to shorten the time for the public to address this board, whom you work for, whom put you on this board, and whom you represent. The 5-minute time limit has only been an issue 3 times since 2021. If I'm not wrong, Mr. Nolan, based on what you just said earlier. So 3 meetings since 2021 that we've had more people than could fit in a 30-minute time allotment with 5 minutes. That does not justify changing a policy. That justifies allowing a few more people to speak, if necessary, not changing our policy to silence the public. And I'll leave you know where I stand. I have no more comments.
Mr. Mayberry?
Yeah, it's just a little disagreement. That's all. But it's not to silence the public. We voted previously in the past, and I was a huge supporter of that, to open up the topics to whatever topic that has to do with education, that was a huge change back then. We are allowing the public to speak for 3 minutes, and that aligns, as I said, not just with state bodies, it aligns with our county commission, aligns with city council here locally and across our entire state. So just aligning to what is more appropriately given throughout our counties, cities, and state.
Okay, Mr. Griffey?
Let me clarify what you just said. Shortening the time is not to silence the public. Do I understand that correct? But you're telling me can't speak as long? Is that really working in like you're speaking? You're saying this motion is not to silence the public, but yet you're voting or making a motion to silence them by 2 minutes per time they speak.
I mean, Mr. Griffith, I think we're talking semantics here. 5 minutes or 3 minutes. I agree with the notion that Mr. Garland made, that it will allow people to hone in on the topic which at hand, what they want to come and speak to us about. But this does allow other people the opportunity to speak. It allows everything we've already said at this point. But no, they would have 3 minutes to speak, and that again aligns with government bodies throughout the entire state, through cities, counties, other school boards.
Again, I'm worried about Clarksville-Montgomery County,
sure,
not the state.
So again, county, cities, school boards across the state. There's not another school board in the entire state that allows 5 minutes, and I've been told that from TSBA. So we are the only one. The closest one to us is 3 minutes. That's the standard across the state. That's the standard. Okay. I'm not saying it's the standard at the state. It's the standard across the state. Actually, at the state, it's even lower.
And again, how many? 3 times, 3 meetings since 2021 has this been an issue, but yet we're going to shorten the time. Y'all go ahead. I can't make any more points than I've made.
Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Bryant?
I'll just say, I understand both points, but the 3 times that we have had to push people to the next meeting, they have things that they're very passionate about speaking. 2 times. I was actually very surprised because I was with Mr. Mayberry, with the parents wanting to change the policy to where you could speak on anything. And I was very surprised when it went to 5 minutes, because the standard is 3 minutes. So I do think that during the times when there is a lot of public participation, it is nice that we give the ability for more people to speak. That's my thoughts. Don't get mad at me.
I'll say my piece. I mean, I agree with that's what the county commission does. I mean, I like the 3 minutes. Again, gives other people time to speak. Is there any other comments? Okay, if you would, call the vote. Is everybody satisfied with your vote? Okay, tally the vote. Motion passes. Okay, moving on. So we did there. So do we have Fort Campbell liaison, school liaison officer? Not here. Okay. CMCEA? There you go.
Good evening, everyone. I am here in place of President Steffi Outlaw, who is on vacation, and I am pleased to be speaking on her behalf because not only am I here as an executive board member of CMCA, but also as a co-facilitator of the collaborative conferencing team. It is important to distinguish between those roles because our conferencing team was elected to represent all certified employees in an election where all certified employees could vote. And in that PECA election, we won all 7 seats on that team. And when we serve on that team, we are doing more than just representing our members, and I cannot stress that enough. I am pleased to be able to serve on that team along with the district, and I and my teammates count that work that we do as a blessing. In the conferencing room, we come together as problem solvers. Although there are surveys and there are tag questions from employees, surveys are limited in their scope. They are valuable, but they are only the first step in the process. The conversations that follow those surveys strengthen our district and make it a better workplace for educators. A survey can let district leaders know whether teachers, educators feel supported. But whether the answer is yes, as we would hope, or no, it's impossible for that survey to let district leaders know what they are doing that's working and what isn't being done that they would like to be done. By having a representative like the PECA team, those educators have a voice that goes beyond that questionnaire. And I can't stress how important it is that they have that voice, because we are in a teacher shortage. Teachers will leave our district, they'll leave other districts, but if we're going to retain the best teachers, teachers who can go anywhere they want to go, then they need to have someone who is explaining why they do or do not feel supported, why professional development works and why it doesn't work. That's something that we have been able to do some real problem solving on. It is not a controversial meeting for us. We are coming together to make this district better for educators, and when it's better for educators, it's better for students, because we are always stronger when we are together. I appreciate the board. I appreciate all of the members of the conferencing team for your support of educators this year, and I look forward to continuing to work with you next year. Thank you.
Thank you. County Commissioners, comments?
I have been reluctant to say much of anything over the last few months. But what I have witnessed is a number of very, very upset, and rightly so, parents who are dealing with issues that they feel like they are not getting addressed by this board. I have heard everything tonight, and I'm mostly deaf. It takes a lot for me to hear a lot. So when I hear the level of complaints that I've been hearing, children are dead. Another child is dealing with serious issues. More are dealing with counseling needs. And the response from this board is to limit public speaking. That offends me to my core. I can't say that clearly enough. The response to the outrage is to say, let's have less public speaking. Let's control who speaks. We are all elected officials, county commissioners and school board members. We are all elected to serve the people, not the system. And I think we forget that when we hear everything that's happened in the last last hour or so. When we fail to listen, people get upset, and rightfully so. And we've got to listen better. I'm the deaf guy saying we need to listen. And that's all I have to say.
I do have a legal question for Mr. Nolan. I don't think this has ever happened before. Is a public meeting still a public meeting if the public is removed from the room?
Yes. Because they were removed, because they were disrupting the public meeting, and state law says that they can be removed for disrupting the meeting.
Can you point me where it says that in state law?
If you'll look up 3917-306.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Mr. Gannon? All right, moving on. Board members' comments. Ms. Bryant?
Couple things. Respectfully, I think that it's the way that you view it. I view it very differently than you. I think that we're actually giving more people the opportunity to speak. There were people that were very upset that they didn't get the opportunity because the time limit was too much. So respectfully, I think differently than you in that. The other thing I wanted to say is Sydney came up and spoke about the mandatory suicide prevention. What do we have? Do we have anything in place for education and suicide prevention?
Yes, I'll let Dr. Dowdy take that.
Yes, we do. We have mandatory training for all of our teachers. We take it yearly. It's very in-depth, provided by the state of Tennessee through the Jason Foundation. It's actually free. It's an excellent training that all of our staff members participate in. Additionally, students, we have a variety of resources for students, including Care Solace, where kids can reach out immediately and get within 24 to 48 hour assistance with a certified counselor. We have a portal where our kids can, from their laptop, confidentially request to meet with their guidance counselor about a variety of topics, which would include mental health, so that nobody else would even know that they're seeking that assistance. We also have social workers, and so we have a lot of supports in place, Ms. Bryant.
Thank you. I'm wondering, how is that communicated to the students? Because we have a student that spoke and I guess didn't know that these resources were available.
Yeah, it's communicated. It really varies school to school, but it's something that schools are supposed to talk about at the beginning of the year. And for sake of transparency, after the tragedies that have taken place this year, we have a small team that's been meeting to review and evaluate our data reflectively. As a mom myself, obviously, I'm pretty passionate about this, as I know all of you are. And we are going to be looking at new and innovative ways to reach our students to make sure they're aware of these resources.
Perfect. I love when a student comes and speaks and not only comes with complaints, but comes with solutions. And I wish that she was here because she did a great job with that.
I agree. And I think, she honored her friend well. And I was thankful, too, that we are already a step ahead of it, but our suggestions were great. And some of those team members are sitting in this room. And so we listened, we heard her, and we're on top of it. And we want to help for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ms. Berry?
I want to say that mental health is really important to me because many times it's the mental health, lack of strong mental health that causes students to make decisions that are not in their best interests. And I think we need to make sure that we're putting a lot of focus on mental health. And if we have students that seem to not be strong mentally or stable, That's where we need to intervene so that it doesn't get to the point where they feel like there is no hope. And I do think that this board, we do our best to be transparent and accountable, but we can't break the law. We cannot, when there's an investigation, we cannot make any decision. We have to wait for the law to take place. In addition to that, I just think that people don't understand that we listen, we try to help. Most of the time it's one-on-one. And we do care. I know for myself, that's why I'm here. I feel that how many minutes does the county commission give people to speak?
3.
I'm just saying, we're trying to be consistent. If that's what the county commission is doing, what's wrong? I realize we have a lot of issues, and I don't have a problem with listening to people 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever they need, because that's why I'm here. But if the county commission is held to 3 minutes, then I think it's fair for us to also be consistent across the board with other public bodies. Thank you. Yeah, you count. Oh, you don't? 3 minutes.
No.
Okay, we do.
Okay. Anybody else? I just want to clear the air here. I've been accused of not being supportive from our first incident we've had. I was on the phone with the father the next day. I've told him I'm sorry for what his daughter's going through. I've tried to do what we can as we're being, as this is going on in investigation. I think some of the anger is faced towards the wrong people, and they're probably not going to like to hear this now. But that's what it boils down to. Sumner County has picked up the investigation, and I'm sorry that our DA didn't do it. And I don't know what else to say about that issue. Then, along with the bus crash, I was on the phone with Dr. Linda Vetter almost immediately. I wanted to do everything I could. Multiple of this board went to the vigil that night, or the next night, and we all spoke. There was county commissioners there, I think. There was state rep there. We tried to pour out for those families, and I'm sorry they're hurting. I went the next night to a prayer session down the street at a church, met with other folks. I've been working with other people that want to put in memorials at the school. I'm not one to normally push this button because I don't think I need any telling what I'm doing. But if they don't think I'm a part of this, I've spent most of the day answering emails from people. There's multiple people that are going to do memorials at that school. I've met with them. I met with Norm's team. There's no publicizing on that. I've done nothing, but try to support them. And if they feel like they haven't, they can always reach out to me. And when we found out a family was coming home, or not a family, when a student was coming home that needed a wheelchair ramp, Dr. Linda Vetter called me and said, "Hey, I know you know people, can you make something happen?" I said, "Sure, I've got a whole wheelchair ministry. Give me the name and an address and I'll have it put in before he gets home." And he called me. I was actually on a way to an event, and my guys called in the church and said, "Hey, we're done. I picked up the phone and called that family, and I said, hey, there's going to be something new in your driveway when you get home. And they said, hey, we're 30 minutes out. So perfect timing. If I didn't support these families, I wouldn't have done that stuff. And that's all I got to say about that. I don't think there's anybody that can ever say that I don't support children. Dr. Linnebetter.
First, I just want to give a shout out to Norm's teams. They, in the summer, there's a lot of work being done that people don't see behind the scenes. And so his team is making things happen. I know our last board meeting, we had conversation about Minglewood. We were on the phone. We turned that around by the next day. So I just want to give a shout out to Norm's team. I also want to give a shout out to the people in this room on senior leadership. As Chair Lanier mentioned, people are doing things behind the scene 24/7 to support this community and to support our students and to support our educators. And it is not up to us to shout from the rooftops or to always say publicly what is happening. But I just want to thank you to the senior leadership who is busting it every day for kids. That's it.
Thank you. We're adjourned.